We made it. No,
We made
I'm
it.
sorry.
It is Tuesday, October 14th. And my name is Miranda, and I'm here joined with my partner in crime, Stephen Fullwood. And I should just probably say Stephen. I guess we don't need to use our full names at the moment. Stephen, Stephen and Lee, who is joining us as our guest star for this evening's conversation.
Hello, hello.
And
Hey,
yes.
hey.
And so for the NAP Kickback, if you're just joining us for the first time, we get together and we just talk about all things archiving and all things Black culture, I guess, all things Black archiving. Um, and today's episode or today's conversation is going to be about archiving the everyday. And so we'll kind of dive into what that is, what that means to us, and maybe see what that might mean to you. But looking forward to it. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Stephen.
Oh, okay. This is my mic. Hey, good people. Thank you once again for joining us today. This is exciting to me and to a lot of people I know who are interested in trying to figure out what to archive, what not to archive, what things. I think in our description, we say we discuss what items deserve to be remembered, not just big milestones, but the small, intimate traces that tell us who we are. Okay, so family threads, voice notes, screenshots, flyers, playlists, ticket stubs, all these artifacts really in incremental parts of it, they kind of make up our lived experience. And they're always in danger of just simply disappearing because maybe we hadn't thought about how they could do that for us. So I'm going to kick it to Lee, but I'm going to ask Lee a question around the everyday archiving because it's a good concept and we could just kind of work our way through it. So Lee.
Yes, hello. Hello.
What do
Thanks for
you-
inviting me. Thanks for letting me be on the show. I'm so excited. Can you tell?
I'm glad you're here. You're pretty awesome.
Okay.
Part of the Nap family.
I am
And
that family. I am.
Nap family.
Okay.
And
NAP family.
That's right.
so what so it's a either or question, which is what do you archive on the daily basis, or do you archive on the daily basis? And if so, what is it?
I do not archive on a daily basis, but I am interested in archiving, and so I'm excited to be here because I have all the questions. And so I'm not all so many questions. I'm not a trained archivist, right? But obviously, I care about my community. I care about preserving our memories, and so I just don't really think about it as an everyday practice. I think about it as I gotta like take a weekend and go through my boxes and get things organized. And
Okay.
so that's been my approach.
Why don't you give us some questions?
Wait, hang on a second. So introduce yourself though, Lee. So who are you? Like, what do you do on an everyday?
Who am I? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Lee Levinson Perrine. I'm holding it down here in Washington, D.C. Proud D.C. resident. What do I do? So I'm the founder of Black in Space. We are a collective of queer and trans Afrofuturists. So we do really dope experiences here in D.C., but also digitally and virtually. I do have a day job, so I got that. And then what else? Yeah, I don't know. I'm an uncle. I'm a family man. I'm a son. I'm very fortunate to work alongside Stephen and Miranda at the Nomadic Archivist Project. So I kind of hop in and do things from working on our community hubs to website suggestions. You name it, I do it because I just really love this work and really love Stephen and Miranda. And so that's me. Was that the question?
Yes, absolutely. Okay,
cool.
so because I think that helps in terms of thinking about too, like what you might archive every day, right? So, like if what do you create? Because it actually comes back to like what are you creating every day? What is meaningful to you? And thinking about like why would you even preserve or save something, especially everyday objects, and we'll talk about that, or everyday creations. And yeah, so and also like what is important to you in your life. And so obviously you mentioned family, who you are tied to, your family. So those kinds of things kind of help ground the conversation, and like these are the things that are important to you and that might instruct how, if you were going to archive every day or every week or every month or once a year. I mean, whenever you can do it is good. It doesn't have to be the everyday, but doesn't have to be every day. I don't archive every day, and I'm an archivist, so
Maybe it's every week. Maybe it's a plane ticket. It could be a number of things. Yeah.
yeah. So All right, so Stephen, so now you said you had some questions, so I cut you off. And so just so everybody too, if you have any questions as we're talking, or thoughts or things that you do, definitely put it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. I'm monitoring the chat, so if you see me like look away, or I'm trying to get any of your comments up to Stephen and Lee, so we can respond to it. But yeah, we definitely want to. This is a conversation that we're having with each other, obviously, but definitely with everybody out there, either in this moment in time or in the future. If you have any thoughts or opinions in the future, you want to add it into the comments, that would be amazing. We'd love to talk to you. So yeah, so sorry, Stephen, kick us off. Questions.
Well, Lee already answered my question in terms of archiving every day. So I'm going to ask you, Miranda, are there things that you archive on the every day? So maybe weekly or a special event, special occasion. Are there things that you automatically put aside? You just like, I know I'm going to want to look at this later.
No, but I save a lot. So I don't archive every day, and I probably don't archive every week, and I sometimes don't archive every year when it comes to certain things. But I do save things that I know at some point I want to preserve. So I do put it aside. So if I think about things that we were kind of talking about, like that are more ephemeral, things that we typically don't think about saving, or it's kind of an afterthought because it's digital content, like chats, text messages, WhatsApps, emails, those things I definitely archive at some point. So I always save, like I can go back 10, I could probably, since I've met you, Stephen, I have all of our chats, all of our text messages. So I don't save it. I see your face, Lee. I don't save it every day. I'm not like, let me go back, let me go in and save this, like I know, but at some point it'll weigh on me, and I'll be like, I got to get this into a space that is being preserved past like the cloud that I'm with Apple. So past the cloud that Apple saves my messages to, and then I can bounce it from phone to phone. But how can I like download those text messages so that I can have it in a space that's on a hard drive, and then I upload it to another drive? Or emails, like every single email my mother has sent me since 2001, I think I have. So, and they could be big emails like, where are you? Why haven't you called me? Or, small emails, I guess, and to bigger emails where my mother's a genealogist. So she might write me my whole family story in an email and send me like 1,000 pictures. So all of those kinds of things, I eventually get around to archiving.
But where do they go? Like, for example, like text messages, like I got a lot of text messages, but you said I'm supposed to get a hard drive, I'm supposed to upload them somewhere. Like, I just don't even know where to do. So
yeah. So I mean, what I first do is download it to my computer. I download the text messages that way. And then I have an external drive. So then I have it in like a file, and it'll probably be like the Stephen file or the mom file. And then I'll so I have a hard drive, and then I'll upload it to my cloud. So I have two different spaces, and only two. I know, Stephen, you do three backups, but I only do two. I do, yeah. I don't do a physical. I don't like print it out, because that would be, I don't even know how many hundreds of pages of text messages. But yeah, so that's what I do, Lee.
And that's like a best practice, two different spaces, because
two to three.
2 to 3.
Okay. Yeah, to have multiple, yes. So if you have it on just a physical drive in something, so we're talking about just digital content now, right? So this is not true across the board, but if you have it only on a digital drive and something happens to that drive, or your computer and something happens to that, drives go corrupt after a while, computers can break. So having it in that space means that you're more at threat for loss. Right, your content. And so having a second, so like, for instance, I did this recently with my mother. We downloaded, she had her archive, we downloaded all of her digital content to her drive. She gave me a drive, so it's not in her house, and then she has the cloud. So if anything should happen to the cloud or in her house, a fire or God forbid, something like that, then I have a backup to all of her archives.
Love it.
So 2 to 3. I would say is best. But, do what you can. At the end of the day, it's kind of like do whatever you can, whatever is makes the most sense for you.
Got it.
That's what I would say. I don't know, Steven. Steven likes a lot of extra copies. Steven's probably got like 8 copies. He's like, you get a copy and you get a copy.
Why are you blowing up my spot? So I do recommend 3 Spaces, but I'm very much Miranda when she says do what you can, because you may not have an extra hard drive. You may not subscribe to the cloud. So do what you can. And so what you made me think of, Miranda, was that when I closed my Yahoo account and I got a Gmail account, I closed my account, which is really not a great thing. But I downloaded a bunch of emails digitally and I printed some out because I knew I wanted to actually write on some of them. And some of them to put some of them in my archive. So I did a little combination of both. And to this day, I regret closing my Yahoo account. I do regret it. I was trying to figure out how to get it back, but it's gone. So make that a lesson to all of you out there. Don't delete your emails. You might need them someday, because they're in a way they're databases. They're not in a way databases. They are databases. And I use my Gmail and I use other accounts to search for things, and it's pretty awesome, you know. So I briefly want to say I keep boarding passes, tickets to events. I download my texts and my emails. I keep flyers from events that I've attended.
Why boarding passes?
I was about to ask.
Well, the 2 things, right? So initially it started out as a way to, because you obviously can have a digital pass, but I've had to print them out and to make copies of them to send them to get reimbursed if I was traveling for work. So when I'd have them, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a part of this trip I went on. And I'm the first researcher in my archive, right? So the thing that I'm building, the stories that I'm telling, I want specific things available to me. So it's the boarding passes are part and parcel to, I create an itinerary for every trip I go on. And I started it as a way to manage my money. I was like, okay, we're going to spend this much on here. We're going to spend this. And then it became a way to, okay, so what are my goals for this trip? So I'd have obviously the flight information, the accommodations, if I rented a car or not. And so it was a way to kind of think through that trip. And as you know, I think, Miranda, just around the time I met you, when you started working at the Schomburg, you helped me. I created a book, a small book for my dad. And I didn't know what to name it. And you called it Road Scholar, ROAD. I was like, oh, okay. And the rationale behind the book was that my dad he was always worried that I was traveling, and I was traveling internationally, and I wanted to show him. So I put it together so he could see, okay, I went to Tokyo. Okay, I went to Havana. Okay, I went to all these London. And so that was a way for me to kind of, and what I relied on were the things that I had saved, so the itineraries, the receipts, and that kind of thing, to kind of build out the story. And I was really happy that I did it. And he seemed really kind of happy because I also included a photo book of photographs. So 4 to 6 related to this particular trip, 5 to 8 related to this trip. So I'm an analog boy in a digital world. And so I'm finding, I don't think I'm having problems with either. At one point I was like, I should probably go all digital, but it's really a matter of space. It's really a matter of preference. And I like writing on stuff. I printed out what we were talking about today. I was like, oh, I want to write on this and think about it later. So it's one of the ways in which I learn and think. So that's a part of my story.
That's kind of awesome, because that's interesting, because oftentimes I keep things and I have an intention for why I'm keeping it, but your intention for it changed. And then it was a way for you to connect with your father and kind of give him a glimpse into your world. With having that. It's kind of like, it's a travel scrapbook. Yeah, I remember that. Scholar. Tanya also says that she regrets. Sorry, Lee.
No, you go.
Tanya in the chat said that she regrets closing her Yahoo accounts. Yeah. I know. It's hard.
You live and you learn. You live and you learn. You share the story so somebody else won't do it. Yes. So yeah.
And Lee?
I just had a quick question about like actual organizing, because even if I like take the time to do these things, like, so I don't get overwhelmed, because like, Steven, do you have like multiple archives? And if I was even archiving on a monthly basis, am I supposed to like sort things, and these are like my personal Lee archive, and then there's like my family archive, and there's the Black in Space archive, and then there's the, or should I just focus on one archive at a time?
So it depends on what you have. Like my process has been, if I'm not, like I call it Archive Sunday. So I'll spend an hour or two just filing things away and throwing things away, right? So it might be duplicates of things. I went to a zine festival recently, so I have a box of zines, and I'll go through them and I'll put them on my spreadsheet so I know that I have them. And the whole idea is to have the spreadsheet available on my phone so that when I go zine shopping again, I will be able to go, oh, I already have that. I bought your zine already. Look, that kind of thing. I'm just joking. But so I do it on a weekly basis, but it's not always, I can't always do it on a weekly basis. I have things to do, but that's the target day. So it's called Archives Day. Yeah. And I think of my archive all together. So it's the family archive. It's the VE Press work, Vintage Entity Press work, and then other kind of projects I've been involved in. So I look at it all holistically.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish I could get the chats up here. But Tanya also says that she keeps all of her travel ticket stubs as well, Stephen, and hotel receipts. And she saves. I also saved one pay stub from every job I've ever held since I was a teen. So why? Bravo. So you can remember where you worked, or you can remember like the increase, hopefully the increase in pay.
Tanya's my angel. I feel you. I feel you. I have Pizza Hut stubs. Yes.
I keep my IDs from when I worked at different places. That's about it. I typically get rid of most traces of all places that I've ever worked after I've gone.
Okay, but if I am gonna keep them, does it matter if I keep them like in a plastic bag or like a Ziploc bag, or because I don't want to spend a lot of money right now? So, like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
I put mine in folders, and and I realize this is not optimal for everyone, obviously. But I bought archival boxes that have just regular manila folders, no acid-free folders. What I think about is the material, right? Like I know that you collect buttons, Lee. Right. Yeah. And so a plastic bag is fine for that. Sure. No big deal. And also think about the things, as I might have mentioned earlier, what will help to tell the story that you want to tell. That's really that's the guiding principle for me. What kind of story do you want to tell? And since I'm the first researcher, I'm thinking of the utilization of the archive, not necessarily it's going to go somewhere and be housed somewhere. I'm thinking of the function right now. And it's a way for me to organize my life and think about projects, about the Nomadic Archivist Project, but also writing projects, publishing projects. So that's why my archive is very functional in that way.
You can also think about not only like what story you want to tell, but how are the materials that you're holding on to telling a story? And so one of the risks for organizing materials are like separating them, like maybe separating buttons because they're buttons and separating paper because they're paper, is that you're disconnecting it from its original intention and its context, right? So you think about Black in Space. You make a lot of buttons for a lot of things, but you might be tempted to remove the Black in Space buttons from the Black in Space content because you're trying to preserve it in the right way, right? Yeah. I mean, buttons are a little bit of a harder example because they're pretty sturdy, but if there are other things that were more delicate that you'd want to keep together because of its material, it's something to think about too. And like, if you weren't there to tell the story, how would these materials be able to tell the story without you? And so what needs to happen to preserve their continuity? What needs to happen in order to preserve the original context in which they were born? And that's something to kind of think about. I know, a lot of times we're tempted to, especially in traditional archival culture, we're tempted to like categorize things and make sense of the meaning of the actual object, divorced from its environment. But I always try to push back on that. I mean, provenance is a part of this, but and we think about that as archivists. But I'd like to push back even further and think about like why it is we're separating materials, and that it's not always about the stories we want to tell about it, but it's also about the story that they have to tell.
Can you also describe provenance, Miranda, for folks?
Provenance. So provenance is sort of like its original like creator or creation, or where it's from, right? And so if Stephen gives me a collection of materials from like his ticket stubs and his travels, the provenance is that Stephen is the creator. Stephen is the one who assembled these materials. They've come from Harlem, New York, where Stephen resides. So provenance is, in like the most general sense, is sort of like who the materials belong to, which is really important especially if you're talking about theft and people just going places, taking things, and then putting it in their museums and calling it theirs. Woo! Provenance is important.
I guess that's gonna be another whole kickback conversation.
Yeah, that's another kickback.
I know before we logged on, I know Stephen, you had something you were gonna show us, but then I couldn't even see it. I know it was like, were you gonna show us something? I think it was like
yeah. So I'm not sure how. So this is a box. So
we can't see it. Put it right in front of you. We're kind of slim, Jim, here. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So long before my father passed in June of 2022, I was collecting photographs and other kinds of materials related to his life. He would give me things like old IDs and whatnot. So when he passed in June, I, as a part of cleaning out his house and kind of getting his affairs in order, I started, putting things in folders that needed to stay with my sisters and my cousins, and then things that I brought back with me that told more of a genealogical part of his story. So there were journals that my dad loved to write in journals, mainly business stuff. Then there were just things that, to your point, Miranda, like my father would write letters to me that I ended up taking and just sort of combining all these things together. And earlier on, my dad loved to write. This is a menu where he used to work called Our Place, where he was a chef at. There are all these different things. There is, things that I thought were really critical, about and tell a little bit about my father's life. So the applications in here, copies of things. Some of these things came in use when we were creating that Fullwood family reunion guide for 2025. My dad's family.
I like that.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Who did the cover?
So I designed the whole thing, but my cousin Elijah created this. He's awesome. Pretty great guy. And so we worked on this together. And although, you got all these different milestones for folks who graduated, their businesses, folks who passed away recently, folks who passed away, the agenda for the weekend. So this is really a labor of love. And
that's beautiful.
So being able to think through, sometimes you don't know what you're collecting and what you're collecting for. Excuse me. But I love genealogy, and I have a strong belief that somebody is going to need something one day, whether it's a birth or death certificate, a photograph, whatever. And so this is the role I chose myself. I inherited it in a way because I like history and genealogy. And so this is, like I said, this means everything to me, right? Just means everything to me. And looking at my father's handwriting, he was, and I know I'm going to write about him more. I've written about him before. I'm going to write more, that this will come in handy in terms of just jogging my memory about specific things that I want to record about his life.
When did he, for how long did he write you letters? Like physically write you letters?
So I have like maybe
2022 or more?
No, they're more earlier. So they were like maybe in the late 90s when I moved out, went to college, left the state and moved to Georgia to go to school. But he would send me cards, like, for birthday cards. And they would always have like a mallard duck on or something. Happy birthday, son. And I used to always go, what is mallard duck doing on here? my dad's lovely script inside. Kept kept every single one. Yes, and sometimes it would be checks, and sometimes not. But yeah.
Well, I know you said you kept every letter from your dad, but are there items that you don't keep as part of your archive? Like, how do you manage all the things? Like,
Very briefly, because I want to ask Miranda a question about
yeah.
everyday stuff too, and that is very briefly. I don't do a lot of duplicates, and because I'm connected to different archival institutions, I will ask them if they're interested in it. I don't keep a lot of receipts unless I think they're really really important. Um, what other things that are germane to the archive that I wouldn't keep? I have to look at my list of things.
Hmm.
Yeah, because that's kind of interesting. I don't keep everything, but right now it's not popping in my head. Just
Yeah.
yeah, flyers that come to the house that I didn't ask for. I do try to keep Harlem history. So in terms of flyers coming in and
Yeah.
Mm.
menus and stuff like that, I think those things are important because um, we have a menu. I say we, but the Schomburg has a menu collection, and they've been that people were always looking through that thing because they were looking for mid restaurants that existed like during the Harlem Renaissance, but throughout different parts of Harlem. So I know that in the future, someone might need that or would like to see that.
Nice.
Hmm.
There
So my
was
question to
an
Miranda.
arc. Oh,
Sorry, you want to
go
ask
ahead.
your question? You want to say your question? Because my question to you, Miranda, is because you're such a
Yeah.
digital person, like, are there things that you keep that are analog, but you just, or you would digitize them and keep them digitally? Like, what is your process of thinking about
I
what to
don't
keep?
digitize much. I don't
Okay.
digitize much.
Okay.
I think
Hmm.
I would, like I keep saying I'm going to get she doesn't know this, but my 19-year-old niece to come over and digitize some stuff for me because it's a
Hmm.
lot of work to digitize
Yeah.
material. Like I'm put her to work, but I don't. Yeah, so I have physical materials, but they end in time, and I feel like maybe 20, like the 2010s area, is when I stopped much physical material. But I do keep cards, and how I choose the cards that I keep, it to me, and it depends on if there's a message inside. So if somebody sends me a card and it's just like "Happy birthday, Miranda, love, Dad," I'll probably throw it away. If yeah, but if it was, "Happy birthday," and they actually took the time to write something to me, then I would keep that. And sometimes I don't know. Yeah. So I would keep something like that. But
Hmm.
otherwise I would throw the cards away. Although my aunt, she does something that's really great that we would do around the holidays for Christmas, is that she cuts um she'll cut the front of the card off, which is always kind of pretty, especially if there's no words on it. If it's like birds or whatever, and
Oh
she'll put
wow.
that on paste it on the package, right on the present. So it's kind of really, a nice decoration. Um, but otherwise, I'll throw the cards away. I do keep stubs, like any ticket stubs that I go to any concerts. But if I hated the concert, I might throw the stub away. So it kind of is, like subjective too. Like if yeah, typically I hold on to anything that has a lot of writing in it, or that brings me back to a certain moment in time that I want to reflect on or go back to. So I do have some analog, but it does end at some point. Yeah, then I'll get, like, you get to your tickets now online. So yeah, I'll keep the digital copy.
But has y'all's
I want
approach?
to say
Oh,
something that,
yeah. You go.
yeah, go ahead, Lee.
No, you go. Because then I wrote my question down. You go.
You wrote it down.
Yeah.
So I want to say something though about archiving the everyday, because I think that archiving the everyday is interesting. And like, what is the difference between archiving everyday things, and what we're kind of talking about is like the things that we don't always think about as being something that we would preserve, right? We always think of, you know, we don't always think about, I don't know if everybody always thinks of this, but like there's certain family heirlooms we think, oh, we're gonna like preserve and pass down, or something, like a wedding dress or something like that, like something that belonged to our parents or grandparents. We think of that as something that is worthy of being preserved. But sort of like through this conversation, we're kind of seeing, I hope, that other things, like chats that we might have with people that we think are just kind of fleeting, even if it's just like, where do you want to meet for dinner? I don't know, where you want to meet for dinner. Like those kinds of things are fun to look back on if that's all you have, right? If that's all you have of that person at some, it's nice to kind of be able to have those memories to kind of go back and reflect on. And it also talks, it speaks a lot about who you were at a certain time too. So it's kind of nice to be able to revisit those things. So just to kind of think about these kind of everyday things can seem so fleeting, but they actually can be pretty meaningful if we, store them and hold on to them for decades. There was an archivist that I met years ago, and I don't remember his name. But I met him in New York City, and he was telling me he was doing this project where he was going around to different neighborhoods and he was archiving the trash he would find on the street. And once he got and this is something I was talking about a little bit earlier about that continuity of like environment. Once he sort of kept the trash in the, like in the space, in the neighborhood, collection, that represented that neighborhood, he could really tell a lot about the culture of that neighborhood by the trash that was on the ground, right? And so thinking about like those things, that's like the everyday, right? Like that wrapper that might end up on the ground, or a ticket stub or flyer that might end up on the ground. And what does that say about that culture? Once you kind of put it together in that sort of aggregated way, is really interesting to think about it. So I've always thought about that, for, I don't know, like I think it was like 15 years ago, I had this conversation with him, something like that. But so I always think about that in terms of like archiving the everyday and how much these things that we don't really think matter actually do speak a lot about who we are.
Well, one of the things you mentioned earlier was like, emails, text messages. I think you said playlist, but how would I even archive
a playlist?
Like, yeah, just like download the song. Like, what do you mean by?
You could put it on a CD.
Okay.
Or you could put it on a CD, or
that's still a thing though, for real? Like, for real?
Or you could put it on a flash drive.
Okay.
Or you could just, write the songs down. Okay. And, like I've made playlists for people and shared it with them, like mixtapes, after mixtapes were no longer a thing, or CDs, DVDs. So, yeah, absolutely. Especially if you made it for somebody or something, or whatever you want to save it for, actually. Yeah. You made it just for yourself. You're like, I need this mix right now. This is my mix. I mean, I know you like music, Lee, and I feel like those kinds of things too are nice because you can go back and be like, oh yeah, this was a mix I put together for such and such and such and such during this time.
This event, that event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I have a question. I don't know how much time we have, but I guess when we're talking about like archiving the everyday, like has y'all's approach to archiving, of course, how's it changed over time? Because like when you first started out, were you thinking about archiving like these little things like text messages and emails, or was it when you were in school, you were taught like we focus on important things, like, right?
Oh, good question.
How did we get to
that? I think Steven should answer that first.
I'm gathering my thoughts around it because I thought you were going one way with the question, and then you super work around it, and I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah, so I have one, and it's funny because it's a story about a collection at the Schomburg where this particular writer supported herself through her writing, right? And so where we were taught that a lot of the things that we were just speaking about may not be archivable, my curator and I worked it out because we wanted to show how, as much as we could about how this person was supporting herself. So the things that people wouldn't necessarily keep, like bills and receipts and other kinds of things, we kept because it helped to kind of draw this. Like if someone were doing a biography of this woman, you would see, you would get a sense of what her daily life was like. And so it was my first major collection. And I was able to really have a lot more latitude because there was more imagination going into it, right? These were things that were paper-based largely. So that was awesome. Yeah, but no, they don't teach you that in.
No.
Well, they might teach you that now, but like I went to graduate school years ago, like 1996 to 97. No, largely there were things. Oh, tuck that napkin with that number on it, put it away. Where somebody might now keep that napkin because it had that person's number on it, and it might show you something about that, person or where they went. Particularly if it was an embossed napkin and it had a phone number on it, that might be the key to somebody finding out about somebody. That might be the only thing connecting two people together. You know, the evidence of something. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say not much change from when I was in school in 2009 and from what Steven's talking about. I would imagine that maybe, especially with because I know that there's been some movement on like trying to archive like Twitter feeds and Instagram feeds in a bigger context, like to, not individually, but I don't know. Like, so there's it, but I don't know if they're teaching that in school. That's a good question. It'd be interesting for somebody who's actually in school right now to answer that question if they're teaching it now. But no, I mean, it was. And I took a couple digital classes, but it was really kind of like how do you preserve born digital material? Um,
okay.
and it wasn't like text messages, but it was more of like PDFs and letters, some emails, but photographs for sure, right? Because we have so many digital photographs, so things like that, but nothing around like text messages, and even emails. I don't know. I feel like even now, when people are talking to people about their collections, that's actually not something that always comes into conversation. And that's also because a lot of institutions too right now are still struggling how to preserve things like digital content like that. But yeah, I feel like emails definitely, typically, unless they're like printed off for a lot of people, they don't get preserved. Even if other things are like they have a collection somewhere. You gonna say something, Steven?
I was thinking about around 2002 and 3 that archives were beginning to collect floppies and other kinds of things, even computers, because
Yeah.
sometimes even the computer could be like forensically, put together, and that would become the archive. That would be the database. And so with Lotus Notes and other things, those things were on the computer, right? Not unlike, Gmail and other things. So that was, I remember working with one person who was donating. She donated 2 computers, and those are what researchers will use when they research her stuff. But in addition to the email, they also had a number. She's a writer. She had a number of different drafts of her work, so that was there for them to research as well. And sometimes what people do is they only submit the final draft, or the one, or even the galley, and it's like, no. In the past, people were typing things up and they were going through different iterations of a particular project, and you could see what was kept, what was deleted. I think Richard Wright's book Native Son, I want to say chapter 6. I think it was chapter 6 wasn't included in the original, but then it was years later it was added to it. So had that archive that particular thing not existed, we wouldn't have had that chapter, right? So for those of you who write or even take photographs or any kind of art practice, you might want to think of the road to the thing, as opposed, if you're already thinking about it, great. If you're not, think about it, maybe more holistically.
Right. Yeah. So Lee, when you think about things that you want to preserve,
yes,
what are the things that come to mind for you though? Are you also thinking about like any like with emails that you might like for Black in Space? Because Black in Space you have preserved, right? Black in Space is
preserving, working on it.
currently. Oh, you're preserving it. But I thought you had a collection in DC, at the DC Public Library.
We do from the first festival, but everything that's happened
Okay.
since 2020, figuring out how
Okay.
we organize it and what we do with it. Yeah.
So how did you choose what went into that first archival submission to the library?
Well, the library told us what they wanted. They wanted the entire festival. So
Oh.
from every minute we were on Zoom, they wanted those files. So from Thursday through Monday, they have the files. And so
so they only, so it's just the video files.
it's the video
Like the
files.
actual
So,
it's the actual, so none of the press releases or the flyers or the
or the
buttons.
promo videos, but no.
Oh, none of that stuff went into it.
No, and I think that's the question about
Interesting.
expanding that archive, though, what that could look like. But, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
But to your question about, like, I think this conversation helped me think through, like, oh, I do want to preserve my playlist and I need to like write them down, and what does that look like? But I think sometimes when it comes to like email, possibly text messages, I guess it feels so fleeting to me. I'm like, oh, do I really want to revisit those? But whereas like emails from like family and friends, I'm like, yeah, because I think
Yeah.
maybe there's like more intentionality around those, and then I think with text messages, I'm like, I don't know if I want people seeing all that. So it just kind of where I am in my process.
Well, you know what? That's a good point, because there's preserving things and archiving things for yourself, and then yes, I mean, if you're gonna give it to somebody, then yeah, you want to think about that, because there could be some sensitive materials. So for me, I'm only thinking that my archive is for me. Like I'm
Okay.
not thinking that at some point my text
Mhm.
messages, those text messages are actually going to live on past me. I mean, they might, because I'm saving them. But like somebody else, like in my family, might read it one day. But in terms of I'm going to like a library or something, I hope not.
Got
Seriously,
you.
hope not. Those are
Well,
some
you can
some
always
interesting.
restrict those, Miranda. You can always restrict those for a number of years.
No, they're
until
not going into no. So for
Okay.
anybody who has sent me a text message out there,
Right.
present company included, it's not going into a library. It's just in my. It's just something that I, like the cards that I save too. I can't imagine that anything's going to happen to the cards. That's just for me, like it's like almost every decade or something will remind me, and I'll be like, I miss this person. I haven't seen them in forever, but I have this stub from when we went on this concert together, and this letter that they wrote me when they were doing, X. And so I don't know, like it's just for me. So I also think that's a good point, Lee. Like why are you saving things? Not just what do you choose to save, because whatever you choose to save is your decision. But then why? Like for who? Is it for you? Is it for something else? Obviously, Black in Space is different. It's a cultural event. It's a phenomena. It's an amazing space that you've created. That you might want to share, and you should share with the world. But yeah, text messages between intimates, that might just be something you keep, or you just say, you know what?
Just make it disappear.
It happened and it's gone, and it was wonderful when it happened, and then that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions, Miranda?
There's no questions at the moment. We've got some good comments.
Does
But
not
I feel
anyone
like
care
they're
about
out
us?
of.
Nobody, no questions, no questions.
Does no one care about us? Oh my god.
Yes, people said, "Wow, that's very nice," but that's Kiwi. But yes, so but no questions, not right now. Not that I see, and I don't know if my chat has gone. But I
got a question.
Yes, but we're winding down too, so we're gonna let yours be the last question.
Okay, it's an easy one. Do I get to come back on the show? How does this work?
Yeah.
So we're gonna meet and we'll talk about it, Lee. We're gonna evaluate your presence, your charisma, your questions, all of that, and then we'll get back with you. Our people will get back.
I got more questions. More questions. Yes. I got all so many questions about archiving. So
we're definitely gonna have you back on. Absolutely.
Well, we hope so. And so we're supposed to do this for all you out there, and for us to remind ourselves, we're supposed to do this every other Tuesday night at 6 p.m. So come be with us, come join us, subscribe if you want to get the announcement. So you don't even have to remember it when we're going live. And definitely, if you like this conversation, if you liked having Lee here with us today, definitely hit the like button. But so yeah, we're going to try to do it every other Tuesday. the next time I will be in Spain, so I won't be here. But I think that, and then Lee, and then Stephen, you're going to host, and you're going to have a special guest. And Lee, are you able to do that one, or is that the one you cannot do?
No, I'm going to learn how to edit.
Okay.
So I can make movies.
That's right.
That's right.
So we will have a special guest.
Yes, we don't know who that special guest is yet.
Chopping it up. Not yet. No, it's a surprise.
Not yet. Okay, it's a surprise. Secret. Yes. But we will still be doing the kickback. And definitely come hang out with us, come kick back with us. And again, if you're watching this in the future and you have questions, thoughts, anything you want to share, please add it, and we'll get back to you in the add in the comments. But until next time, have a good night.
Be well.
All right.